Hey everyone, welcome to Frank Analysis. I'm Franco and I'm joined by Robbie Yeager. He is back. He is an investigative journalist for the MCSC network. He also has a Substack called Politify. Uh, every time he is here, we discuss the financial corruption of politicians, journal outlets, business people. So, Robbie, thank you for coming back, brother. It's really great to
Anyone
have
know
you back
these
on here.
people? Where they?
No
Anyone
problem, man.
see
I'm glad
these
to be
people in
back.
public?
I haven't really done much of, anything
These are
really
paid
until just very
fakes.
recently. I took a pretty long, hiatus from everything, but I'm
I
back now,
crop them
so
out,
I'm making the
and then
rounds
it becomes
because it's been,
obvious that they're
lots
scripted,
of stuff to cover for sure.
Yeah, you're back with some really important news.
like an
It's also really
infomercial.
underreported. And if people aren't too familiar with the Colonial Pipeline story, I recommend to check out
Watch for
the previous
sideways
interviews that I had with
movement.
Robbie. He's been covering this for about 2 years now, right?
It's
Yep,
bizarre.
about two
So
years.
No one
this is
acts like that
again, it
in
deserves
real
more
life.
awareness. It's barely even discussed on independent media, unfortunately. But here's
I put this
here's one
together
tweet that we're going to
36
discuss
minutes
here.
of
2 years after
cropping.
the Colonial Pipeline's
They were
catastrophic
consistent
spill
in
in
this
Huntersville,
format.
North Carolina, the company has finally revealed its
Wasn't
new
that
estimate for how
difficult?
much they think spilled. But Robbie, that's only 2 million gallons. That's not too much, now is it?
No, it's
What can you tell
actually
us about
the
that?
yeah, that's the
Is that
largest in
funny? They
U.S.
always seem
Yeah.
to
history
laugh at
by
things that
far,
aren't
because
funny.
the last the previous record was like 1.68 million, and that was in Minnesota, I believe, in 1991.
Both of these
So,
guys,
you know,
if you're
this
patient,
estimate,
you'll
which by the
see
way
that
is
they
a
have drug
just a rough
addiction
calculation, it's
issues.
not even really to be taken as like a definitive total,
The
because
trick
that
is
has yet to
that
be
they're
seen.
reading.
Uh,
So if their
but
eyes are
to
going
be that as it may, where
sideways,
we're at
they're
now
supposed to
is
be
just,
reading. That's the trick.
seeing this number come out, even though
They
I
mimic
hate to
me.
say I told you so, but I'm pretty sure
Like I
I
told
told
you
you
so
so.
right
Like, this was
there.
going to
Yeah.
exceed or come close to or exceed 2
I used to
million
have
gallons by the
Ann.
time
I
everything was
told you
all said
so
and done.
news.
And here it is. And unfortunately now, you know, it,
Fiorella's saying she doesn't
the
do
punishment or
tricks.
lack thereof has already come and gone. The cases are more or less closed when it comes to Colonial Pipeline and the investigations that were being done by the federal
The
regulators
video
and state
right
regulators.
previous
And,
to this
so
one,
they pretty
I
much just got
showed
away
one of
almost
the
scot
more
free when it comes to
backwater
all of this.
ecosystem
As we've covered,
channels
months and months ago, probably in
having
June of
some
last year,
nobody talking about going right to
federal
left
regulators,
to
after
right,
putting out
someone
a pretty
reading.
lengthy report saying that the
On
entire
Combo
Colonial
Couch today,
Pipeline was
they
like a
were laughing it up,
public and
whooping it
environmental
up
hazard,
with
that admittedly they thought
Nico
had the
House
potential for
talking
this
about
type of
Biden
2
on the
million gallon leak
teleprompter.
just present throughout the entirety of the 5,600-mile system, right? Federal regulators put out a report that basically said, and I mean, and I'm quoting as closely as I can in a lot of those because I don't have it pulled up, but that's what they said. And then they turned around and filed, reached a settlement with Colonial for no fines at all. It was just basically promised to fix it, and that was it. So, flash forward to last month, and state regulators here at the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality, they had continued
That's the
their
trick right
investigation. They
there.
weren't taking no for an answer from Colonial when it come to Colonial's refusal to give new estimates and provide new information about maybe potentially harmful chemicals being used in the fire suppressants and stuff. You know the state agency took them to court, trying to
The
compel them
show
to
is 36
provide this
minutes.
information. And eventually, of
We're
course,
only four
Colonial
minutes
settled
in.
with state regulators out of court as well, for a
This
whopping
is to
fine of
document
$4.5 million,
that the internet is
and
scripted.
then 250 grand in legal fees. So not even $5 million in fines for Colonial Pipeline, from either the state or federal
His
level.
head
So it's
is
basically,
moving
for
sideways.
perspective, they make about $1.3 billion a year in revenue.
The body weight,
In 2016, they
he
paid their
leans.
largest
He
shareholders,
just
which
had
is
a
the Koch
duper's
Industries,
delayed.
$85 million in just that year alone. So it's probably likely they come in around
Yet, as
that
I pointed
annually.
out in
So $5
another
million is
video,
literally a drop in the bucket. They
there's no
literally had
duper's
no
delight when
incentive
everyone
to really
knows you're
ever
scripted.
fix these things or make sure this
It's
never
right there.
happens
There
again,
was a
because
jump
the punishments are
because
so minuscule. And this has kind of just
the
been
format got
a huge
changed, I
disheartening
think.
and like really depressing story to cover. I can tell you that, man, because it's
They
like
are small
there is no
screen right
winning
here.
here. We lost the day it
On the
happened.
show,
There was never going to be any punishment realistically, and now it's just kind of
they
dealing
think
with
that
the
they're
aftermath
barely
of that. How do
seen
we go from
during
here?
the main
Yeah,
shows.
it's crazy how they
But right
knew
here,
a long
I
time ago
crop it
something
out.
like this would have happened.
They can't hide.
And now that it's happened, like
They
how
can't
close
hide
do
what
you
they're
think they
doing.
are to being fully cleaned up? Have
Huh.
they made any
Right
scenes
there,
about that?
Franco had to look to
So
the
I mean,
side to actually see.
federal
They look
regulators,
to
as
the
part of their
side to
settlement
see the
agreement
other
with Colonial,
person. I've
requested
gone through that
a
on
list
other
of all of the exact
videos.
type repairs
When they're looking straight
made
ahead
to
with
the
the fake
system
zoom,
that
they
were the
are
type of
reading
repair
the
that
teleprompter.
cracked
Like
in
right
North
there, he's
Carolina
reading.
that spilled the 2 million gallons.
This is
Colonial
where the trick
Pipeline
fails.
has apparently provided that information, and allegedly
Because you
they
can't
they
just
say that they
read
have replaced all
articles
of
the whole
those
way.
what they call type A sleeves with type B sleeves, right? So
The
everything's supposed to
funniest
be
is
all
when they
better now.
go out
But
of their
I'm not
way to
buying it,
make it
and
seem that
nobody else
they're
should either,
reading, and
because
then
here's
they're
the problem.
talking like they're reading.
I just put out a report today because the hits just
And
keep
then
on
when
coming.
they're
That
not
in a
reading,
final
when they're
supplemental
scripted,
incident report that Colonial just
you
filed
see
with
them going
the federal
sideways or being jittery,
agency
looking
PIMSA,
upward,
or the
looking all
Pipeline
over the
Hazardous
place,
Material
doing
Safety Administration.
anything but what a
They basically
normal person
had to
does.
put out one last summary of what happened to this before
I have
the case was
Asperger's.
officially
I
closed
still
with the agency. And in this report,
don't shake
they
around.
admitted to never directly
Us Aspies
assessing
might have a little
or
trouble with
pressure
the eye
testing the
contact,
section
but
of pipe that leaked
we're
since
not
its
avoiding the
construction
camera. We're not playing
until
camera
they
tricks,
discovered a possible problem
angle
in
tricks.
2004, right? So
So here
16 years
he
prior to
is
the leak,
reading
they went out
again.
there and they did perform one test where they essentially injected particles into that section of the pipe and used magnets, right, so to basically form an image or of sorts to find a possible
Got a
crack or
duper's
something, right?
delay
It was
right
a very
there.
non-invasive
Second go.
test, and honestly, it was just basically to find out if there was a hole in this area. And they did find something, so that's where that original
He doesn't even
type
know what he's
A
talking about.
repair
You can
was
tell
made.
by the stammering in
And
spots.
they never came back. They never examined it ever again, until, of course, 16 years later, when the report that also states that this leak could have been leaking. They believe that it started July 27th of 2020. It wasn't discovered, and by the way, Colonial didn't discover it. Two kids discovered it while they were riding their ATVs near the site. But when it was discovered was August 14th of 2020. So that means this leak could have been going on for at least 18 days undetected. And the pipe is buried only 3 feet below the
Shouldn't
surface.
even be that bad.
But Colonial Pipeline literally never actually tested it before the original repair was made.
He's talking as if he's very stupid.
So that's, who knows? The construction of Colonial Pipeline
No,
started
we
in
do know.
1962.
You're scripted. The
According
script writers
to
know.
Colonial's own numbers, 90%
This guy
of the Colonial
looks
Pipeline that runs through
exactly
North
very
Carolina
similar
was built prior
to
to
the
1980.
guy who was hosting with Misty.
So
That
just
guy
using
quit.
the
Misty
odds,
quit.
there's
They're
no
not
way
on
to
that
exactly
channel.
know when this section
Franco
of pipe was
is
built,
barely
but it's
around
likely
anymore.
more than 40 years old. So to say that
Busted
they
him
never
up as
checked it
IG
prior
Sports.
to, let's say,
Check into that.
2004, that could be
I
like at least
recommend,
30
in my
years
opinion,
without ever
IG
directly
Sports.
testing or
I
inspecting
think
that
he
section of
proved
pipe
himself
before the original problem.
to get
Then they go down
page
past
views,
that
his
problem,
voice.
do one little quick test
He's
to make sure
posing
everything's
as if
good,
he's
and then
black,
they roll
too.
out and they
Which is
don't come back until
par for
somebody
the
calls
course
them
for
back
these people. They're
16
taught to
years
lie.
later.
They're taught
That
to
makes
become
it
comfortable
nearly
with
impossible
a
to
lifelong
have a
lie
safe
until they
pipeline. It
quit.
wouldn't matter what you were doing, but is it any
They
wonder
don't
why they
care
keep
about
spilling
what
shit
they look
everywhere? I mean,
like.
'cause we just heard
They
that they
don't
had
think
another
anyone
accident
knows
in
they're on the
Tennessee just a few
internet.
months ago, or maybe it was last month.
The
time
money
is tripping out for me.
is worth it to
But
them.
that should be a huge story, in my
And
opinion.
this guy looks
Finding out
pretty
that,
good
hey,
right
there
here,
was this
not
pipeline that spilled
too
2 million
drugged up.
gallons. oh well,
But by the end of
they
this
never checked it.
episode,
It's not like I'm just using hyperbole. They
by the
literally
end of
never
this
checked it. They
episode,
didn't
it
check it.
gets very
Okay,
obvious that
like the
he
test
has
they
a
did
drug
run
addiction problem.
was something that they had noticed after the fact that there was probably a problem down there, which seems to be
There
not just
probably was a
Colonial, not
problem.
just but the agencies that are in charge of this. It seems to be
So now
their
he's talking
MO
fast.
when it comes to pipeline safety is you know we're not going to act until the disaster has already happened.
That
Right?
strange
We're not
eye
going to take any
movement
kind of safety
right
measurements
there.
to
He's
prevent things
busted.
from
He even
happening.
showed shame
It's always react.
or
It's
disgust in
never,
himself or disappointment in
trying to
himself
prevent. That old
because he
adage
made
that
a
said,
jittery movement.
was it an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Something happened
There's lots
there,
of
and he
cliches out there, but damn it, if that's not
self-triggered
like one of the
himself.
truest ones I've ever heard. If there was actual
So now he's
steps
talking
taken
up a
to
cliche.
prevent, like inspecting your pipeline,
I mean,
then you might
what's
have
why
found
is he reading a
way
speech
earlier. If you did it on
to
a
this
regular
Franco
basis,
guy?
you would have noticed that the area was corroding
Because he's
for
clearly not
16 years as the
talking
environment
from
around
the
it changed.
hip,
But they never
off
came
the
back.
cuff.
They never checked it. So is it any wonder there's no telling how many cracks and holes are in this thing right now? It's
Why is he
most
swaying
of it's freaking 40, 50,
sideways?
60 years old, man.
And isn't it a horrible business decision too? Because aren't they having so much
Infomercial vibe.
financial losses because of this?
Right
Like
there,
if they had just
strange
invested
movements from Franco.
investigating any cracks or seeing if they had to
There can
make
be
any
no dupers
adjustments
to
or
light
changes
when it's
during those
exposed
18
like
years,
this. I've exposed
wouldn't
them.
they have saved money in the long run? But is it
On the
because they're
show,
so
you only
focused
see
on
their
making a profit in
little
the short term
cubicle
that they were
boxes
so
of them.
myopic
I
in this
put
scenario?
down what it really looks like.
That's hard to say. I mean, they would. I feel like they would definitely save money if you just
Those are just
fix
two of the
shit,
same
maintain it. It's not
to
even
fill in
fixing
that
it.
space.
You're trying to maintain it.
After I
You're
cropped
trying to
it.
prevent it from having the
This looks
accidents in
really
the first place.
clear.
That's how you maintain a good reputation as a company.
It probably makes
Whether
more
you're in the
sense not
pipeline
to crop
business
up
or
the
you're in the food
eyes.
industry,
Crop out the
making
whole
sure
head.
that you're always doing the right thing the right way
Yeah.
to achieve your results is
This
it's
proves
just
that
good
they're
business
scripted.
practice. So maintaining the cleanliness of the operation of your pipeline is the same thing, in my opinion, as like a restaurant maintaining the cleanliness of their kitchen.
Is this 36 minutes of him reading
it's
an
just
article?
part of it.
I
If you're
don't
trying
think
to
so.
do this the right way,
Because
you'll
this
gain a
happens
reputation.
every show.
Now they've gained the
They're
opposite
on tilt
reputation because
because
this
I
thing's fallen into
proved they're
disrepair
scripted.
all up and down the
I
eastern
proved they filmed
seaboard.
for police.
But here's
I
the problem,
proved
Franco,
quite a
and
bit.
you and Nico, I can name them all. Misty, Kit over at Heartlands
They
Media,
name them all.
Indie Left News, like all these guys, like you
Manitalk
guys
does that.
a very close
They
knit
all
bunch
do that.
of
They
journalists
run
who
off
actually
the names like that
invited me on
in a
not
corporate
just me on,
way.
but actually
The
covered
same
the
way
story,
they do the fake
right?
quotations,
But
the fake jot. They have new ones. They do
where
like
was everybody
human
else on
emojis.
this? Even at 1.2 million, when we found out that
I
Colonial had covered
articulate
up
this stuff
their
probably
estimates,
because I studied sociology.
for months,
Okay?
and had to revise them over and over again. When we found out, oh no, they first said it was 63,000 gallons. Then they said it was 264,000 gallons. And then a few months later, they said it was 1.2 million gallons. And now a year later, they're saying that is 2 million gallons. What are they going to say a year from now? How big is it going to be then? Right? And what is it going to take for people that claim to care about the environment, like, the progressive politicians, the Justice Dems,
They're so
the organizations like
about it.
Sunrise, Greenpeace, like Sierra Club. You just go down the list, right? Where were they on that? They didn't say a word, and it was
the only one
kind of
talking
strange
about
because
this, so
I thought they cared about the
it's
environment.
pretty
I thought they cared
much
about fracking and oil pipelines and gasoline
symbolic of the
pipelines.
world at large.
But they were nowhere on this.
So
and even after
like
the information was coming out, they were nowhere on this. And neither
Assange
was
type or
most
Snowden.
of indie media. Neither was most of
But
progressive
those
media,
guys are
mainstream
a
media.
million
They're in the
times
pockets
more
of the oil companies. They're
known
not
than
going to
me.
put a
Like,
lot
I'm
of attention on this.
insignificant compared to
But
Assange.
there are people that
Yet
are supposed to be
Assange
on the side
fairly
of the
insignificant
in media.
That's how much I've given up on
spend all their
the
time
system.
talking about, who have spent hours and hours talking about DAPL,
Yeah.
that haven't even mentioned the Colonial
This
Pipeline.
is
and it's
supposedly the
this has
independent
just been a giant
media.
failure on
Look at
all
how big a
sides.
chunk of space
I
they take
believe
up on
personally
internet.
that had there been a
They
major,
take it all up.
wave of media outcry, right,
Somehow they take up
in the beginning,
everything.
then that would have, influenced the people that are reading and taking in that
There's
media
no freedom
to pressure
within
their politicians to make
their
statements and to do
system.
something, substantial, or at least take a
These guys
position
are
on this
cracking
issue,
up
right?
because they
Which
know
in
about my
turn would have
videos.
created political pressure to make an
They know
example
that we
out of
know.
Colonial Pipeline. This is the only way this works. But since indie media and media as
The
a whole really
projection
didn't
of
do their job,
this is the
progressive
only way
media
it
as a
works to
whole
him, to
basically
them,
didn't do their
is
job.
that they need
And
the
then the activist
scripts.
role can't be ignored either. The environmental groups that claim to care about
I
Green New
found
Deal,
there,
and
I found the string to
end
unravel.
fracking, all this, they were nowhere. And because they were nowhere,
I don't
politicians
have a
didn't care
huge
because there
ego
was no
or
reason to.
anything, but I
Right.
don't
Nobody
see
was making a
anyone
fuss out of it.
supporting
And,
me. I don't
being the
see
cynical
anyone.
person, I might be wrong, but I think you'd agree with
I
me.
don't see this
Politicians
story
tend to
going
only care
anywhere.
about things
And I had
that they can
even
fundraise
bigger
off of
stories than this.
and can earn them
Like in
votes.
Cumberland,
And,
no one
unfortunately,
gave
we
me
don't
the
have
time
any
of
justice
day, even
chambers in
though I
North
was like
Carolina
a
that are
major
going,
actor in it. No
everybody else,
newspaper
just kind of
interviewed me, didn't
left out
even
the drive. If this
try.
would have happened in New York, AOC
It's
would have been all over it.
bizarre.
Just
Now, years
just
later,
from
we
a
know all that
perspective
stuff
of
was
I can get
garbage,
votes out
and
of
all the
this.
people
It's happening
involved
near
were
me.
garbage.
But
From Paterico to
that entire
Breitbart
group
to
of
Ron
Democrats
Breinart to
in general just
Rauhauser.
they didn't show up for this, and
Mike
it's just been a
Stack's the
really
only
depressing
guy
thing,
that
man, because now we're
I ended
finding
up
out it's the
unsure of.
largest pipeline spill
Otherwise,
on
I don't
U.S.
remember
soil
one
in the history of our country.
good person.
And they got away with it, and now we're gonna
Mark
just keep finding out
Randazza
even more worse stuff.
got in contact with
So
me.
you
That's how
think that the
corrupt it all
reason why
was.
some politicians or all of them are not
Those
talking
nut
about this is
jobs. All I
because
did was
it's
have
not anywhere near their district? But what about
Asperger's with
the
computer skills.
activist groups like
Not
Sierra
computer
Club,
skills, I mean
350.org?
search skills.
What do you think is the reason for why they are not
Intellectual
talking about this?
skills.
Would it have to be for the reason that
They
they
freaking
get
go nuts
paid
after
by
me
certain
when it was so
billionaires and
unnecessary
such, and so
to
it would
try to
be
ruin me? All that shit
against
they
their
did
interest
to
to
me.
do that? They'll stop receiving
So
funding
these
from
people
some of
right
those
there,
billionaires?
Rob
Or
Yeager,
what are your
drug
thoughts? Why
addict.
can they talk about
The way he
DAPL,
was
but they can't talk
shifting
about
his
this?
jaw like that.
That's a great question.
This is where
If
Rob
I had to
Yeager
guess,
just
I think
starts to
maybe
lose it. He
it's
shows
got
his
something to
true
do with maybe
colors
we're a
as
red state.
probably heroin. I
Technically in
sense
North
something
Carolina,
flowing through
really
his
it's a purple
veins.
state, but when you look at the last two presidential maps, we're a red state. And
I
recency
sense the
bias,
same thing with
you know,
Franco.
that's just really, what
This
have you done for
must
me
be
lately?
a
That's how
program
politics
based
works. It's
on
how sports works,
heroin.
right? I mean, there's a lot of
I think
parallels between the two
cocaine can
anyway.
be just as
So like we
addictive.
know that most of these organizations get funding from a lot of
Cocaine,
left
methane.
leaning,
I don't know what
they
the
supposedly
I
or
don't know that.
liberal billionaires,
I
really
just
just
know like
DNC
coke
mega
and
donors,
heroin.
um,
I
who
don't
have
know them
co-opted what
personally.
liberalism is, or used to be, and changed it into completely
I
something
lucked out
different.
and knew never to go near
But
those.
they're the ones that fund most of these groups: Sunrise Movement, Sierra Club, 350.org.
This guy's face is
This is
starting
where all
to.
this
He's
their
really
funding is
starting to
coming from.
lose it.
So
If
that's
you
why they're going to
control it to the
focus on the
beginning,
stuff in California
got through like
and on the
15
West
minutes
Coast,
fine,
and they're
but now
going
he's
to kind of
done. He
leave
can't
the
keep it
South
together
and the
anymore.
Southeast kind of out the dry, in my opinion. Like I said, if this was happening in a
In
blue
his
state
opinion,
up
that
north,
triggered him
it would
because he
be
has no
on front page news.
opinions. He's all reading off the
Whenever
script.
I forget which,
Why
I
is he
think it
going
was
sideways?
it the San Francisco Bay?
He's in
I'm
no
not
man's
exactly
land.
sure, but this was like last year sometime.
He's in no man's land.
100 gallons or something, spilled it. And there was like all
He's
this
in those small
footage
little
of like the water
cubicle
with the oil in it,
avatars.
and it was going viral
But I crop
all
it
over
out,
Twitter
and now we
and
see
social media,
exactly
and it
what
was just
these
like,
people are
okay,
up
that's
to.
what like 100 and some
They're
gallons
caught,
looks
they're
like.
busted, they're
Right now, imagine
exposed.
what 2 million
This is a
gallons would look
historical
like
scoop by
floating
myself.
down the bay.
I don't care
outside
how
of where
long
you
it
live,
takes.
because that's what's happening.
But I am calling all the
into
bluffs.
the environment, here in North Carolina. That's what
These are
Colonial
government
Pipeline did.
agents
Their
who are
report
scripted.
stated that they have to spend over $80 million.
They contaminate democracy. They contaminate everything.
They did over $14 million of personal property damage to people that lived in the area. They had to buy out at least 3 or 4 families out of their houses, just to, because of the cleanup being so close to the property and the potential for their property being, part of the spill.
How stupid can
there's so many
this
like
be?
just disgusting things that came
I'm
out of this
surprised they
story.
don't get more
And
comments.
again, Colonial is going to,
like about the
I guess
specific
they're
nature
estimating the total cost of the
of
spill
them
to
being
them
scripted.
is $108 million. And before we hop over to our next subject, I'll just leave you with this: Colonial Pipeline
Maybe
estimates
it's
$2 million
just
is what they lost. Right?
completely
They also said
lacking
that the
viewers.
cost they lost 2 million
Like no
gallons,
one
but
believes
the
in
price
them.
tag they put on that
The
in their report
numbers have
was
gone nowhere. They blame
$2.5 million.
YouTube for
That's
their numbers.
$1.25 a gallon. You're that's
Yeah.
pretty much, you know what I mean?
They
Like,
just
Yeah.
showed up a few
you're
years
welcome,
ago.
America. That's how much
Right.
they're paying for
He
the
even
gas that
admitted,
they
the guy
just
on the
dumped in the
right
ground.
there admitted
Well,
it.
gas prices are
Drug
going up and
addict right there.
everything.
You can see him.
It's
Right.
insane.
He
And
can't.
not a peep. Also, talking
He
about
can't
people that are
hide
not
it.
talking about this.
He
There's
cannot
these
hide it.
people that only focus
After
on
15
climate
minutes
change
of
when it comes
hiding
to
it, this
environmental
Robbie
issues.
Yeager
They never
guy
talk about things like this, such as
has a
Peter
tweaking out
Kalamis
face.
of
A tweaked
NASA.
out
But
face.
yeah, here you brought up the number
Franco knows
$2.5
all
billion
about
dollars.
that.
This number also comes up here when you say lobbyists from some of the leading
Scripted.
oil, pharmaceuticals, and defense companies continue to bundle huge amounts for congressional Democrats, giving
Who's
the
watching these shows? They
DCCC
put up these stupid
over
web pages, and then they hide
$614,000 in
in
June.
little avatar
Money that could have,
boxes.
been better spent to help working class people.
No one
but instead it's
nods.
being
Sorry.
used
In
to
real
give to
life, no one
politicians to
nods
help
like
make
that.
them richer,
You know who nods like
make
that?
their donors
I
richer.
heard
But
drug
they've
addicts
received
nod.
$2.5 million plus so far with no end in sight. And then you broke this down in your article here on your Substack on Politify. What do you have to say about this?
Well, this
They're
is
really
kind of just,
dragging.
for
Their
people that
faces
have been
are
paying attention,
tweaking.
this is nothing new, right? We all understand that lobbyists make the world go round, and they definitely make DC go round. That's why we call it the revolving door, right? Well, that's one of the reasons why. But however, the fact of the matter is that lobbyists
These
with all
aren't
their
real
connections,
actors.
both on the business
He's
side of things and
right there.
other
He's
lobbyists and the
exposed as
politician and the
reading off
activist
of a
group side of
script.
things, the
They're
dark money side
calling
of
it the
things.
bluff.
They know where to get
So
money.
if
They know where to
anyone's
get donations. So they take
can
them.
leave a
There is a
if
practice that
anyone
lobbyists use called bundling. That they just they
agrees,
gather a
please
bunch of donations that are registered
say
under
like,
the
yeah,
people
you
that
can see
donated,
it.
but they
They're
just kind of all
reading
the
and
lobbyists will deliver them all
but
at
I
once.
mean, articulate
Right.
the things.
And every month that
I
they
have
receive
trouble
these
with there.
donations, the
How to
DCCC and the
phrase it?
DSCC both report them to the FEC,
Like, there's no
the Federal
possible way
Election
what that
Commission.
guy's saying.
And here we go again. After I feel like it wasn't just a couple of years
should be scripted
where,
one
the
bit.
DNC was like, we're
Right there, he
off
scratched
oil
his head.
money,
He's
we're not taking
triggering.
any money from oil
It's self-triggering.
executives and stuff like that.
He's got like
This
bad
is just
acting
a way
skills
to get
right
around
now.
that, because
No
here we
man's
go
land, I might
with,
like to call it for them
lobbyists
because they like to
like
use the
Kate
military
Keating, who is
phrases.
represented. She works for the Duberstein Group. She bundled $115,000
He's talking as if he knows all
for the
this stuff,
DCCC
but
in June,
he's reading
just in
it.
June, right?
Oh,
and
he's
she's
picking those
personally
names
lobbied on
off.
behalf of BP.
So
She's
that's the trick.
lobbied for Pharma. She's lobbied for Pfizer and Gilead.
He's coming up with the stuff
she's
off the
lobbied
top
for
of
Northrop
his
Grumman.
head.
This is the people
Off of those screenshots. The way I'm coming up with stuff by watching
to lobby
them.
Congress to get them the most favorable outcome in legislation.
He's making a lot of weird
Stephen
movements.
Elmendorf of Subject Matter, another lobbying firm
He's
that
reading.
founded. He is the founder of. He bundled $75,000 for the DCCC in June. That means he's bundled over $142,000.
That's
for
the
the
trick
cycle.
they use.
That's also represented BP, on issues
that's
of oil
the
and gas,
light.
and he also represented them whenever it was coming to issues of a methane fee and the reconciliation package, which we all know.
I find that happens a lot. I'll say
hot
something
topic,
and then they do
right
after.
representing BP and the industry as a whole definitely weren't for this, right? So you can go ahead and make the logical conclusion as to what Elmendorf was arguing for in Congress. He's also represented General Dynamics, Northrop Grumman, two very well-known military contractors.
He's reading that.
And also Pfizer, Goldman Sachs, Blackstone. It's
so
it's kind of
might
like just the
want to go right up to the screen and follow his exact eyeball movements.
That came anywhere close to, right? If you are supposedly
once you
a
captured
true liberal,
them,
a true progressive,
reading
Just
script,
somebody that's like,
you
even
know
the
that's what they're
DNC,
doing,
like it was literally
and you see it everywhere. You
just a
start to
handful of years
see
ago, where this was
that
supposedly
they can
coming
have
to an
4 or
end, and
5 of them
it's
out
just
there.
how
You know how
quickly we
people make
forget.
a lot of beds around the
And
house
they
for the
know that,
cat.
so they just know that the news cycle will get us focused on a bunch
Everybody
of other crap,
knows it.
and then they go back to it. Here's another
They go back to the
lobbyist, David
script.
Thomas, donated 180,000,
David
or I'm sorry,
Thomas from
74,000. He's
Wendy's,
given 180,000 so far.
or the guy
I
from
should say bundled.
the
These lobbyists aren't
comedian.
actually paying out of pocket; they're gathering these donations and delivering them. But he's lobbied for the American Chemistry Council,
That
a
guy's
trade
jaw,
association that
his
makes up like
face.
Dow Chemical,
So when they
a bunch of
started playing these
a
games,
bunch of oil companies, basically
maybe I
anybody that
start
burns
to
plastics in
fix in on
America,
their,
right? They're
focus in on their
all in this same
faces.
trade
So I see his
organization, kind of
jaw.
like the American Petroleum Institute, but for plastics manufacturers.
I see
I
that he has a
wrote an entire
really
article about
asymmetrical jaw
their
movement.
attempt and their
I
member
couldn't
company's
really
attempt,
see that earlier.
successful attempt, mind you,
Didn't look
to
so
kill
obvious
the
earlier.
plastics tax that was being proposed as part of the reconciliation package. He's also lobbied for
Franco's
Chevron.
got an easy shift this time. Just trying to sit there most
I think another notable
of the
one
time
here,
and keep
in
his
the
face
article,
straight.
and if you guys want more details, I would definitely go check it out. But Archie Siddiqui, former senior policy advisor to House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, is now pretty successful lobbyist by all accounts. Now he bundled $105,000 for the DCCC in June, and it's just funny to me that
Who's
he was
gonna
kind
want to
of
watch
had
these
some
shows where they got boring,
representation
stupid
for CVS
articles?
Health, who just happened to
Why
be one
would
of the
anyone want to be
official unsecured
spoon-fed
creditors of Purdue
articles?
Pharma.
Why
Basically,
can't
one of the the Sackler family's
sure
company
drop
that,
a link
when they
here
went
and there
under,
if you want, but
there was this big lawsuit that was like, all right,
do they
how are we
want it?
gonna divvy up all this out? They owe all this
I
money.
just
How are
saw
we gonna get our
Franco
money?
reading.
Siddiqui was involved in those settlements agreements, that very
So
controversial settlement agreement, and he was working on behalf of the creditors,
numbers are
of the unsecured
stagnating.
creditors of Purdue Pharma.
They have Jimmy Dore. They have
What
Jimmy
his actual
Dore
role in
the whole
the
system.
settlement is not known,
Created
but
them,
just that he was involved in
pushed
that,
them,
it's just like, dude. And of
they
course,
still suck.
he is
They
working
still get
for.
no page
He has been
views.
hired for Salesforce, who, as we
It's
know,
as if
with Pelosi filing her
everyone
latest
hired has to
financial
be
disclosure, owns
completely
anywhere between
broken
$5 and $25 million
by
in call
drugs.
options for the company that are also based in her hometown.
Oh,
of
now
San
Robbie
Francisco.
Yeager
So
feels a little better
it's
than
just a
he did
bunch of
the
seems like
previous
pay to
10,
play to
15
me. I mean,
minutes.
like we
Or
got a
10
bunch
minutes.
of just a bunch of
I
stuff
got
going
that right.
down, lots of money changing hands, lots of questionable. I mean, and just the ties, like lobbies for oil company. How do we not know that? I don't know.
It's
It's
so
it's a bad
stupid
look.
that
It's
he's
a terrible
reading.
look, but it's not a surprising look.
Yeah, it's a
because this is
bad
what we've
look, so that should be a
come to be used
trigger.
to from the Democratic Party apparatuses as a whole. I mean, it's
It's
just
a
garbage.
bad look.
Right. So I'm sure the audience.
Oh, right there, a bad look, and then he.
This is why the
A
Democrats
bad
are not
look.
doing anything to improve our lives in regards to
Did
healthcare.
some type of a chin roll.
And instead, it's exacerbating.
His eyebrows
people are
shooting
inundated
up.
with that. They keep pushing out for mandatory vaccinations and all
Robbie
that to make
Yeager,
money for
I
these
see right through
pharmaceutical
you.
companies, and why they won't efficiently do anything
I don't think that's
about
even
these
your
oil
real name,
companies.
Robbie Yeager.
Allow them to
lots of grimacing from
affect people's health with these spills.
Quote Robbie Yeager, unquote.
But also, Robbie, people
is he related
who present
quote,
themselves
Jesse
as
Zerwell,
progressives,
unquote?
such as the Justice Democrats, you revealed that their PAC gets $1 million
they can't even
of
read
dark
the
money.
script.
Also, AOC,
they can't even
rather
do the
than
job.
to call out what's happening here in
they
North
so
Carolina
weak.
and in Tennessee in regards to
they
the spill, instead of calling out her colleagues for receiving this dark money, she's instead participating in
lives,
it. And
dark
shortly
money.
after her fake arrest, which was staged, and you presented evidence
like you
to,
show,
how this
Duper's
was staged,
Delight,
also, and
right
people
there.
saying that it was.
Pure Duper's
she
Delight.
sends out an email asking for people to donate money to what exactly? Where was she asking people to contribute $3?
I came up with a funny.
So in this email, from what I could gather, when you follow the link to the donation, it's going to take you. It says, and I'm not exactly sure of the names of the groups at this moment, but for sure, one of the groups was a, oh my goodness, it's been like a week and a half now, so I'm trying to like think about what it was, or it's like things have gone so by so. But
That's scripted.
I know for sure it was like a Missouri.
Things are a blur.
I think it was like a Minnesota. It started with.
That's all
I'm so sorry,
scripted.
I wasn't really prepared for that question.
It's all good.
And look at the drug addiction.
Of it is that at least one of the organizations, right, is involved in.
He knows he didn't pull that off
lots of
very
money,
well.
Basically placing.
Sorry if I talked over it.
In defense of.
So does anyone else see what I see?
Or not in defense
because
of,
I don't see any comments.
A proposed ban on abortion.
Are people afraid?
And I want to say Missouri. Okay, it could be Minnesota.
Of commenting
is that there is a very controversial law being proposed by Republican candidates in, I want to say Missouri, that would be like pretty much banning abortion in the state.
I haven't had good luck with people making comments.
Dark money groups spending lots and lots of money on ads.
Thankfully, I haven't been getting trolled on as much.
And that is basically where your money was going to go if you downloaded,
but usually
or if you donated to that link right there. That is essentially what these groups were doing, and that's where your money would have gone. It basically would have gone into a television ad in Missouri. No, I think that the cause, I don't think that abortion should be.
It went back to that big screen.
That's kind of
that's about
I'm not going to
the
harp
only
on
work
that
I had
too much.
to do.
It's kind of hard to be like, yeah, like in practice, you're basically asking to donate to a super PAC of sorts.
When it's going on
honestly,
all the time,
or a dark,
too much of a hassle.
That is just spending money on ads to influence politics at a base level.
Video.
That's something that we
this
all
one was
can agree is a bad thing. But it's one of those bad thing, good reason.
Why is he reading? Why is this 100%
so I didn't make too
scripted?
big of a deal about that. Quite honestly,
he knows he went
I think
too
it would have been
far
worse
on that
if she was trying to fundraise to her personal campaign.
He's still doing
in
it.
this case, I think that
where I
would have been
came
much
up with
worse,
the human
than what
typewriter.
actually happened. So
Franco's reading.
That aspect of it, I'm not going to make a big deal out of. But
seem like he's looking at the camera, but he was reading.
There's a very much billionaire-funded dark money group in CPD action or Center for Popular Democracy.
That's a joke. I know he's not. Doesn't know I'm watching.
Your own arrest.
But I like them to think that people are really watching them. And all it takes is one of us
because,
to
like,
really watch them.
Helping. You're not helping. You're running for re-election.
See
and as a that's just what it reeks of.
They are 100% scripted.
Like it's not. It's no genuineness to it.
Thanks,
at all.
Robbie
like,
Yeager,
even if
for showing
genuine,
us that you're reading.
Once you get this information out that it was staged and you had like a
who is this guy? Does anyone see him go food shopping? Who are they? What are their real names? No one went to high school with that guy?
It's a publicity stunt.
No one went to college with that guy right there on the right?
Doesn't it seem
Robbie Yeager?
Like there are
does anyone know is that his name?
That are really.
Where's he from? How do you know him? Does anyone know him?
Getting arrested.
That are out there, yes, and you're handcuffing yourself, and that's just. It takes away as soon as you go out there. It makes.
So you look at that guy, Robbie Yeager, on the right. I bet if you. I wish I
protested.
Anyone out there, if you know,
had really no the
well, some guy saw it and pointed.
Was kind of cut out of the headlines completely.
I see it in like 95% of all these people.
Massive,
like Franco looks okay right now. He looks cleaned up a little bit.
She
he
got
does. I admit Franco.
So, hopefully,
seems to have really improved over the years. But
we know she's going
the only way for these people is probably to quit.
Stay away from the limelight.
There's something very
staging an arrest
right there. Self-projection. They get gaslit by the
it was so cynical and just
they have to have it. They have to have
like. It's not just like you genuinely.
For a big guy, he's got a skinny.
Like,
this Robbie Yeager guy is giving me a skinny vibe.
Just make
for
a
an
spectacle
old, chubby guy. That makes any sense.
I think it took a lot away from
the
what
flowing.
Was
I get the same vibe off Franco.
Because I don't think CPD.
I
coordinated the entire
and pointing in.
Even if they
Jardula
did,
looks like he's
sponsors of it. You have to
chugging on
Kratom.
All these people.
have never even heard of dark money groups, let alone understand how they influence
It's got to be
others
about that
to
cold
do these
sweats
things.
and going through
So, a lot of people might have just heard of, hey,
withdrawal.
this is a protest about something I care about. And
They
most of
just
the people out there
they
probably
find it
were
to be an
genuine protesters,
unimaginable pain
with like the sleeper
that
cells
they're
of
done
sorts
with. They don't
being,
want that pain,
mixed
so they take
throughout
the good
that were,
money.
that worked for the group in
They
question.
think they're being patriotic.
So I
Maybe
kind of
they
try to
know they're
draw the
not being
distinction is that
patriotic.
that's how
Maybe
these groups
they have.
operate.
I
You
don't
see
know.
that, right?
There's no
It's
way to
just
know
one small group
what
being able to
if they have any
influence another group
conscience at all. I
under
think
the
Shane
guise
Stranahan
of
had a conscience.
something
I mean,
that
at least I poked at it,
the majority care about,
and then he
when
quit.
in
And the same
reality
thing
it's
happened with
just
Austin Pelly. Although
usually a
it probably
DNC
gets a little
megadonor or
trickier as
two or
the
three,
Russian thing
uh,
built up.
trying to influence
Okay, we're
politics
down to
via
1 minute to
manipulating the
go.
public to to protest certain issues or stuff like that. It's really
Make
like
these
4D
videos as a
chess type
public
shit, and a lot of
service.
people don't understand
Trying to
it. They're just
stop
going to a
making this type
protest,
of video.
and those people got overshadowed by
The internet
AOC
is
and
100%
Ilhan Omar's
scripted.
stupid stunt that they pulled.
That's my scoop.
Yeah, sorry, the internet was cutting out, but
This is
for sure,
the
man.
Tokyo Shemp
Robbie, you're one
News
of the
and
best journalists
Entertainment
out there. It's
Network.
great to have you on. It's great that you're back. So where can people find you, sir?
Like again, Jaeger.substack.com. That's the Politify Substack. I'm starting to get more active on that. Right now, I'm focusing on the Colonial Pipeline stuff. I'm checking in on politics here and there. So I mean, you can follow me on Twitter at RobLittlefire. But other than that,
No one's following
Franco, thanks
them.
for having
No
me
one
back on, man. It's been
cares.
too long. Hopefully, we can do it
Yeah.
again soon.
Absolutely, man. Everybody, you guys should definitely follow Robbie Yeager. Important
Anyone
work
seen
out
these
there.
guys?
Take care, everyone.
Going
Stay
food
informed.
shopping anywhere?